Wowee, what a final day of action in the Premier League. I think our own heads are still spinning, Janusz Michallik. Let's start with the fact that Manchester City are Premier League champions. It was a tense game, though. They go 2-0 down and they managed to turn it around to 3-2. I think we've got to give a mention here to Gundogan, haven't we?
Well, I mean, so many stories just within that, right? A mark of a champion. Let's be honest here, right? I mean, there are no losers in this competitions. If you look at Liverpool, what they've done, it's just quite incredible, right? Just 3 years ago, we saw 98 points in 97. Now we see 93 and 92. Both teams doing what they're supposed to be doing while playing incredible amount of games and competitions and all of that. So, I mean, it's really, it almost doesn't make sense to differentiate the two other than give Manchester City their due. Because, against West Ham last week, they were 2-0 down and brought it back 2-2, which is not insignificant, of course. And here we were, 2-0 down at home with possibility of Liverpool eventually winning. Makes you wonder if Liverpool maybe scored that second goal a little bit earlier to put that psychological pressure on the stadium and the fence and all of that. But yeah, İlkay Gundogan, one that's probably going to be leaving after this season. What a player, what a man. We still remember his injury a couple of years ago where he really was out for the entire season, one of the classiest people. And you just look at that, the way he scored those goals and the way they had to come back. I mean, it's just a gigantic performance from Manchester City. I mean, you think about that, not just the 3 goals, but 5 minutes, just absolutely devastating. And, that's why they deserve to be champions, because not any team could have done that. I mean, we're talking about scoring, knowing that you have to score 3 goals at that stage. I mean, you know that you have to score 3 goals, and they do it. Right? I mean, you're assuming that if Liverpool go ahead, you 2-0 down, you have to score 3 goals, and people will look about, people will look at it and I mean, this is just a devastating 5 minutes for Liverpool fans. But just goes to show how good of a team this Manchester City team is in a competition with another giant. We will not see a competition between these two teams ever again. This will just continue next season after, because let's face it, I mean, next year's winner is once again between these two teams.
Yeah, because obviously Matty Cash's goal and then Coutinho's goal, what a story it would have been if it was a Coutinho goal that really had made the difference. And obviously Steven Gerrard, the manager of Aston Villa. So that was a big storyline there. As for Liverpool, though, you said that second goal coming later for them. They did still do what they had to do. It wasn't in their hands. It must be a bit of a kick in the teeth, as you're saying. This is 2 excellent teams. And there's just a point in it. You're that close, but you're still being pipped to the post by this City side.
Yes, I mean, look, I mean, this was at least the one competition where Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool knew that it was not in their hands, right? I mean, if you look at the League Cup, if you look at the FA Cup, if you look ahead to next week in Real Madrid, at the very least, they know that they start, on the same level, right? This wasn't. I'm sure, of course, they did understand how good Manchester City are. So it is, but 62 games, they have one more to play more than anybody, right? Manchester City at the very least could have prepared for this, unlike during the season where they were involved in everything, but here, maybe a little bit fresher. You could see that from Liverpool, right? I mean, they've struggled just a little bit by their standards. Remember, in the last, I was writing it down against Wolves, Saints, Villa, Villarreal. They were behind. They had to come back. You know how much energy you have to expend, the extra energy, right? Because you're all in these competitions, you're in for the quadruple, and you go behind in the last 5 matches in all competitions, and yet you come back and win them. Think about that. How, I've mentioned how gigantic Manchester City are. This is just a mentality monster. But in this one, it was just, you just couldn't catch up because it was in City's hands and they're that good. So fair play to Liverpool to coming back, winning that. But I can only imagine that, how tired they must be physically and psychologically.
So let's just cap this one off. We were saying City had to win this. Let's talk about the importance of them doing so with the way that the rest of the season's gone. Obviously, that's exit in the Champions League. And then going behind here, there's 2 ways of looking at it. One is saying they absolutely had to. They had no choice, or it could have been a season to forget. The other side of it is sometimes we've seen players from the other side of Manchester criticising Pep Guardiola, saying that he likes players with no personality. Well, this showed a heck of a lot of personality, didn't it? To come back when everything's going against you.
Yes, I mean, all of that, of course, it's nonsense. Now we can talk about that with this squad. They perhaps should have won the Champions League, but I think they will. I think if this continues, I mean, they have Erling Haaland coming in. What if they get Marc Cucurella from Brighton on that left-hand side, or Zinchenko? What a substitution it was from him in the second half. He was absolutely outstanding. So. I mean, they're already better with Erling Haaland, right? They're going to get better. They'll eventually win. It's not easy, but you could see the emotions. I mean, Pep Guardiola, crying after the game. You see it, how much it meant. I mean, he lives it. He listens to us, the pundits, the fans. I mean, it's not great, but this is an incredible Manchester City performance. I mean, he's won 4 Premier Leagues in the last 5 seasons, right? This Manchester City, even before him, they have won 6 Premier Leagues in 11 seasons. I mean, this is a bit of a dynasty, isn't it? We've talked about Liverpool's dynasty. We've talked about, Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson. Yes, maybe he has not won the Champions League, but he's won FA Cup, he's won League Cups, he's won everything there is to be won. So, I understand why some, because you have to talk about something, right? When you have such a great team, there's something that you want to say, oh, you haven't done that. But for me, he's a world-class manager. Manchester City are world-class, and they are the champions for a reason, right? 38 games against a team like Liverpool, where once again, only 1 point separates these two giants. It's unbelievable achievement. And, the Champions League, I'm sure they'll have a go at it next season and the season after.
Let's talk about the top 4 teams then. We knew it was going to be between Spurs and Arsenal, who finished 4th. Spurs had it in their hands. Both sides scored 5 goals on the day, but it is Spurs who take that top 4 spot. What have been your thoughts on what we've seen here?
Well, couple. Antonio Conte. Just for me, always, an incredible manager. I think you and I would probably have soft spots for some of these players or managers that come from Serie A. He's a winner. I don't care what anybody says. If he needs money or he wants this or that, who doesn't, right? Same with Pep, same with Klopp. Everybody wants good players. Once he does have him, he knows what to do with him. And I think it was telling even on the first goal, because, what turned around their season was not just Antonio Conte, but the January transfer window, wasn't it? And you saw Rodrigo Bentancur, pretty much puts in the platter for Dejan Kulusevski on the first one. 2 players that came in January and turned this team around. One of many, but mainly those 2 players. Then, of course, Kulusevski had another goal, kind of typical one where he comes on the right-hand side, left foot to the far post. So he's been telling Heung-min Son, what a season, tied with Mo Salah on 23 goals. I think Mo Salah has more assists on that, but it doesn't matter. And Harry Kane, who we still do not talk enough about, right? Because he had such a slow start. Slower than normal, because he's always had slow starts.
Because of what had happened in the summer, we thought he almost wasn't going to be there. You think that must have affected him at the start, right?
There you have it. And you look at him, right? You look what he's done as of late. I don't even want to say arguably, because, it's my opinion, so I'll give it. But in the last couple of months, the best, the best striker in the world, really. I know Karim Benzema, I know what he does, but if you look at Heung-min Son, if you look at the resources and you compare it to what he had to do with Son and everybody else, he's done a tremendous job. So credit to Benzema, by the way. We'll see what, obviously we'll see him next week, and he'll probably turn that around. This week, at least, I'm giving it to Harry Kane. So a tremendous job from Spurs, because nobody expected it.
Arsenal will be disappointed, obviously, to have lost out on that top 4 spot. But is this a side that do have a bright future ahead of them, young players, a bit of an experience maybe in there now? Is that what we could put this down to?
Yes, but you still have to say that it's an opportunity loss, a massive opportunity loss, because, these players may develop, right? They may even get a player or 2 in the summer, and they may not be in the same position next season, because you can always say that Manchester United are going to improve and other teams are going to improve. So obviously, when the season started, nobody thought that Arsenal were even going to be in that position. So you want to give Mikel Arteta credit for that, and the young players as well. But, the thing is that once you're there, you better grab it, because like anything in life, you don't know if it's going to come around again. So I think they should be, I'm sure they are very, very disappointed with that because they had it in their hands. Last couple of games, if you look at the results, I mean, almost a no-show, in particular in that game against Spurs in the North London derby, right? That wasn't a good time. The last two losses wasn't a good time to get him in the fashion that they have, of course. So I think they'd be very disappointed because they've been so up and down. Before that, they were, they won, I think, 4 straight games. And before that, they were on a 3-game losing streak. So that's not how you get to that 4th spot. So it maybe looks better than it is. I can understand why Arsenal fans will look towards the future, but how long can you look for the future? And Champions League, as we know it, is so, so important. So I think it's a massive opportunity lost. And by the same time, you can say it's still been a pretty decent end to the season with all those young players.
Meanwhile, Manchester United just had to make sure that they equaled West Ham's result. They managed to do that. Both sides lost their respective games, but it does mean that United finished 6th. So they do earn Europa League football. They actually finished behind Arsenal as well. But it could have been worse for United. It's not been a great season for them at all.
Yeah, and it was worse at one point as Mikel Antonio scored that wonderful goal to put West Ham ahead. And only because of that, then eventually, obviously, Brighton came in. All the bad news was baked in, like the stock market for me. Before, I didn't expect much. No Jadon Sancho, no Rashford. Some question marks there because they've been training. It says that they were ill, but so who knows what happens. All we know that Erik ten Hag was at the stadium. He already probably knows everything that he needs to know about this team. But it is good news in the end because Europa League, of course, they won it in the recent past. And it's an avenue for a rebuilding team, just in case things once again don't work out in the Premier League, for them to perhaps go through the back door to the Champions League as well. So I think in the end, even though they lost to Crystal Palace, just the fact that they finished in Europa League spots is a positive, even though it was another loss for Manchester United.
It can't get any worse next season, can it?
We've been saying that, right? I mean, we always say, well, they'll get better. They'll buy new players and situation doesn't change. But no, I don't think it's going to be worse. For some reason, I think Erik ten Hag will get them a little bit better, maybe top 4.
Okay, lastly, the relegation race ended with Burnley going down and Leeds United, against all odds, surviving, which is great news for Jesse Marsch.
Well, it is, because the narrative, at least on our side of the pond, would have been, once again, an American coach did not succeed, even though I don't know how much blame you can put on him. I mean, look, we often talk about injuries and all that. Everybody has them, but this was a spectacularly bad season. Even under Bielsa, it started with him, and then when Jesse came in, I mean, for such long periods of time, losing Patrick Bamford, even now for this game, right? After all these injuries, I think he tested positive for COVID as well. We all know Stuart Dallas, which is such an important a player for them, and Ayling, Ayling suspended. Daniel James was suspended for that game as well. Stuart Dallas, who's played probably in every position other than the goalkeeper this season, and did that well, by the way, had a career-ending injury. I mean, where do you go from there? Everybody's been injured, and they did find a way somehow. And so fair play to Jesse. Jack Harrison, who played in Major League Soccer for NYCFC, scoring that goal as well. So it ended well, because just think about the job that Leeds and Marcelo Bielsa have done after 16 years. Leeds United finally came back last season. After all those years, they had played, without their supporters who've waited for such a long time. And as we know, that second season, sometimes it's not all that easy. The supporters were there in full voice. Some said that half Yorkshire traveled to London for that. I don't know if that's true, but maybe. I'm sure, Kay, you know the area a little bit better, but I'm sure the drive is going to be pretty pleasant for them as they stay up. So fair play to Leeds United and Jesse Marsch.
Yeah, Leeds United winning 2-1 away from home at Brentford, and Burnley losing at home to Newcastle 2-1, same scoreline, which is why they are going down. What an epic day it was on the final day of the Premier League. Manchester City champions once again.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.